Hopefully that works.
There we go.
Amazing. I think we're live.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome. But yeah, very, very exciting. I feel like I need to also post it on my Instagram. I've been going crazy over the course of these, over the course of the readathon, just making sure that everyone's aware. But I feel like I'm nagging people, being like, I'm live now.
I don't think so. But I know what you mean. It's like when you're doing a live show, you go on and then you're like, oh, but I need to post about it. And then it feels like you've got so much to do, but you're also already live. So
Exactly. I know. It's all good. So how's your weekend been anyway? Like how's your Sunday going?
My Sunday is going really well. I've literally done one thing today. That was go to the gym this morning. And aside from that, I've literally done nothing all day, which is quite nice. Yesterday was a bit busier because we went into town to do a little bit of shopping, and then I did some baking in the afternoon. So yesterday was quite fun.
Oh, that sounds very wholesome. Also, good on you for going to the gym on a Sunday. Like I literally got out of bed at about 10:30, 11. So yeah,
to be fair, my
very
cat
lazy.
is always like, my cat is my little like furry alarm clock, because he decided that 5 o'clock is breakfast time. So he is always like this morning in particular, he was a bit rowdy, so he had jumped on the headboard and then kind of like dived onto my chest while I was sleeping, and he'd managed to turn a lamp on because it's just like a touch.
Oh my god!
And then just will sit on my chest and meow right in my face until I get up and give him breakfast. So.
Oh, I love that. That's so cute. That's like the best way to wake up rather than like an actual blaring alarm clock.
Yeah, it's definitely cuter for sure.
Yeah. Oh, sounds very, very cute. Yeah, I'm so bad. Like with weekends, I get up at 10:30, like 11, and then spend the rest of the day in regret, being like, oh my God, I could have had like so many more hours of the day, but it just never happens like that.
To be fair, I do wish I could sleep in, but I just really struggle with it. I think if I sleep in at the weekend, then the week mornings, I can't do it.
It's harder. Yeah.
To be like more strict and just get up at like 6, 7 every day, and then it's easier on the whole. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to live. I need to get into being a morning person for sure, but it never happens that way. But oh well.
To be fair, I'm usually in bed by like 8:30, so it's not like I don't actually get that much more day. I just do things earlier in the day.
Earlier, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm so bad. It gets to like midnight, and I'm like, I'm still awake. What's going on? There's no one around to like talk to me anymore. But it's all good. But I see some people have joined us, which is super exciting. So hi everyone. Please say hello in the chat. I can see a few comments. I'll pop them up. Claire says hello. How are you both doing? I'm pretty good. Last day of the readathon. Trying to finish The Toll by Neil Shusterman. I've never read any Neil Shusterman before.
No, I've been tempted because he is the guy who writes Scythe, right?
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that.
I love dystopians, but I just, for some reason, I've never gotten around to that one, and now I feel like I probably never will. So
yeah, I know what you mean. It's like those books that had a lot of hype a few years ago. Sometimes I just find that they just completely pass me by, and then it's like, well, I'm never going to go back to them now. So
yeah,
oh, well, it is what it is. But yeah, I can see some people saying good afternoon. Mary says hi.
Hi.
Bailey says hi, excited to get some reading done. What are you guys reading? Kira, what are you reading?
Well, as it turns out, currently nothing, because I finished a book last weekend on Sunday night. I was reading It by Stephen King, which I was doing a readathon of with Mary, who we just said hi to. So finished that mammoth of a book, and then I started a new job on Monday, so I haven't picked up
amazing
like all week. So I don't know what I'm actually going to be reading, you know.
That's exciting though. I love that. Like the opportunity of starting a new book. It's like so much options. What are you going to choose?
So I think I've narrowed it down to 3 books. So maybe you guys can help me choose.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I'm reaching back for them. Okay. All right, so what we have is one that I definitely intended to read over summer, and now I'm like, maybe I should just leave this until next summer, but I don't know. And it's The Castaways.
Oh, is that thriller?
Yeah, it's like a sort of desert island, I don't know, plane wreckage type of situation.
Oh, fun.
Which I think will be very interesting. Then the next one is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Such a good time. And then finally, Small Great Things by Jodie Picoult, which
good shout.
I think I got this for my birthday maybe in May, and I've just not picked it up yet. So those are my options. If anyone has any thoughts, then let me know. Or if you do, Lucy, then let me know. But I don't know yet.
I have not actually read any of those books, which is really bad. Especially like the Richard Osman. I feel like that was everywhere, like last year or the year before. But I'm actually really bad in that I barely read any crime thrillers. So you might have to inspire me with some of your choices there. But yeah, let us know in the chat what you think Ciara should read for sure. Lots of choices here for Thursday Murder Club.
Yeah,
which is exciting.
Very like, it reminds me, I've not read it yet, so obviously it's reminding me on vibe only of like an Agatha Christie style, so like small town, bit of murder, but not too serious, which is nice.
Yeah, it's like kind of cozy crime, which I think is like perfect for autumn as well. It's like a great autumn read.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I love. But yeah, I'm actually so I have two choices that I'm almost halfway through on both. The first one is Kingdom of the Cursed by Kerri Maniscalco.
Ooh.
So this is the sequel to Kingdom of the Wicked, I think, which is like, the series started off as a YA fantasy, and now it's definitely just it's more of an adult fantasy. Like I think this like book got kind of upgraded in its like age bracket, which is interesting. So this one's very dark and very Halloweeny. Yeah. And then of course I'm reading Mansfield Park, so fitting.
How's Mansfield? Is it your first time reading Mansfield Park, or is it a reread?
This is actually this will be my third time reading it, actually.
Okay.
I think I first read this like when I was like 13 or 14. Like I was quite young, and then I reread it, I think, at university. So it's been a while since I've read this, and I think the second reread was definitely skimming through because I was well aware that I had to read it for like a lecture or whatever. But I am absolutely adoring it again, and I think Mansfield Park is so underrated. Have you started it yet?
Not yet, which is bad because it's for my buddy read. But I just end up leaving reads until quite close to when I actually need to read them by.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
My plan of action is to start that like this coming week. So then I've got, like over a week, maybe 2 or whatever. I can't remember when we decided to do the live show for it, but I've got at least 2 weeks in which to like read completely. So yeah, I'm going to start it next week, but I'm very excited because it's my only Jane Austen that I haven't read yet, so it's the first time.
Oh, really? It's funny with this one. It's obviously the longer of her books, but I actually find it like quite quick, like quite fast paced.
Yeah.
I just really love it. It's a lot of fun, I think, this one. Lots of kind of like meddling people, which I feel like Jane Austen is just, all the books have someone like that. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm very thankful for the All About Austen read along because you've given me an opportunity to reread a lot of Austen books. So
I'm so glad. It's been so fun. I've been meaning to do it for ages, and I thought if I'm going to do it, I might as well just make it a thing. And then if other people want to do it as well, then they can join in. But it's really fun to like see the evolution of her work now that I'm reading them in publication order. So that's cool.
Yeah, I think reading it in publication order is definitely the way to go, because like by the time you get to like Persuasion, it's just like it feels like you get to know her a bit better, which I think is really nice. So yeah, I'm just seeing some comments saying Rita's currently reading it, which is exciting. And then we've got someone reading Pride and Prejudice in December for the first time. I love like Pride and Prejudice. I'm so basic, but it is my all-time favorite Jane Austen book.
See, I think I was like wrongly prejudiced against it because of how popular it was. So when I
Yeah.
first read it, I think I was like quite critical of it, but when I came to reread it for the read along, I really loved it. It's still not my favorite because that is Emma, but
Emma's
I
great,
really
yeah.
appreciated the humor a lot more this time around, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I can see why it's a lot of people's favorites.
Definitely. I'm just a sucker for all the film adaptations, TV adaptations.
Yeah,
Just
it was
obsessed.
great. It is great.
For sure. And what are you like reading this autumn? Like, what are your kind of autumnal reads that you've got coming up?
So obviously a big one was It by Stephen King, because I usually do a Stephen King 24-hour readathon in October. So I've done that for a couple of years, but this year I thought I'd switch it up and we'd do It as like a big tick off my TBR situation. So that was a big one. And then I'm definitely obviously looking at the more like thrillery side of my TBR. So that's why I've kind of picked up The Castaways and Thursday Murder Club. I'm trying to think what else is on my shelves. I may well do some more Agatha Christie because she's always fun. And then I haven't read any like fantasy for ages, so maybe a bit of like cozy autumn fantasy might be a good one to get into.
That sounds perfect. I feel like our reading taste is quite different in that sense, because like you read a lot of crime and thriller, and I definitely need to get into that. Also, like seeing all the things you do, like, you know, your kind of yearly Stephen King read-alongs. I've never read any Stephen King, so I feel like I really need to get on that.
I love Stephen King so much. Now, obviously, he's written so many books, and there are definitely some that I like more than others, but the ones that I like, I just think are amazing. So
what's your favorite Stephen King then that you've read so far?
My favorite is definitely Misery.
Okay.
Which is interesting because obviously he writes a lot of things with paranormal elements. Misery has nothing paranormal about it. It's just purely like mostly two characters and kind of like a hostage situation. And that freaks me out way more than anything paranormal, because I'm like, that could
actually happen. Yeah.
Has this sense of like reality to it. And I don't know if you've seen the film with Kathy Bates, but like,
no.
Oh, she's amazing. It is so good. So it's Kathy Bates, and then the guy that she kind of abducts is played by the man who is Buddy the Elf's dad in Elf.
Oh yeah. I know
so
who you mean.
Pretty much just those two for the whole film, and you feel like your life is at risk. It's that tense. So it's like it's so good.
It sounds like perfect for Halloween for sure.
Yeah, and it's great if you're not into like ghostly things or paranormal. It's not really like, I'd say it's not one of his horrors necessarily. It's definitely more like suspense thriller. So it's quite good to like ease into his style of writing. But I did really like It as well, and to say it's so big, it wasn't like a chore for me to read. Like I read most of it last weekend, so I started Friday.
Wow.
I'd read 100 pages before that, and then I decided to do the rest in one weekend, and I found that not that challenging, to say that it's so good. So yeah.
Did you find it scary though? I think this is the one thing that's not off-putting me, but I feel like with it, I really don't like clowns. I feel like it's going to be like playing into my worst fear ever.
See, I think that's where the book kind of has an edge over the film, because like you kind of have a bit more control over your perception of it. There's no like music, no jump scares. It's not like terrifying in that same way. I think he creates a lot of tension and he does make you nervous, but there's not that visual element, which I think is what makes it scary in the film. So like you hear that he's a clown, and like he does some really interesting things with like smell in this book. So like he's talking about how like the children can smell like initially really nice and alluring fairground smells like popcorn and cinnamon and all that kind of stuff, and then it's kind of like mixed with these horrible sense of like decay as it becomes closer. And he like plays on all of the bits that make him like a clown and also evil, but it feels less scary than watching it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, you've convinced me for sure. I think I might try and ease myself into Stephen King, just because I've got his book on writing, which is the kind of like his kind of memoir, I guess, which I have kind of dipped into, and obviously really think he's a brilliant writer. So I'd be interested in starting. Maybe I'll do like a delayed start to your It read along, and hopefully by the end of the year I'll have read it.
Another one that you could maybe start with as well is that he's got a collection called Different Seasons, which has got 4 novellas in it. I've only read 2 of them, but one of them is the Shawshank Redemption one, and it's only about like 150 pages long. And then the other one that I've read in there is called The Body, but that was the inspiration for the movie Stand By Me. So
okay.
I love that movie so much. And so both of them, again, quite short and also not paranormal, so a little bit less scary as well.
Amazing. Okay, good. I definitely need to get more into like horror, I think, because I love watching. This is the weird thing about me. I like watching horror films, but I've not crossed that bridge over reading like horror books. So
okay. If you are okay with horror films, then you'll definitely be okay with horror books.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Good.
I guess on that note, should we do a reading sprint?
Let's do it.
Cool. So have you settled on your book? Have you decided?
I'm gonna go for the first one, Murder Club, because I feel there were so many people saying that was like really cozy and nice. So I think this is gonna be a good one.
Definitely. Yeah, I really need to read that too. So it's a good reminder. Cool. Well, I guess we can like ease ourselves in a bit and read for like 15 minutes until past. So I'll put up a little banner so people know. I don't know which one to start with actually, whether to go with Mansfield Park or Kingdom of the Cursed, but
I feel like Kingdom of the Cursed is more Halloweeny, and then Mansfield Park you could read anytime. So maybe go for Kingdom.
Yeah, okay, good shout. You've convinced me. I'm going to start on this one. Okay. Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, let's chat again at past, and happy reading, everyone. Okay, I think that's the end of the first reading sprint, which is exciting. How many pages did everyone read? Let us know in the chat. How did you get on with yours, Ciara? Oh, I think you're still on mute.
You're right. I am still on mute. I literally do that every day at work, and it just, I don't.
Oh my gosh, that phrase has just become like my most used phrase over the past year and a half. It's crazy.
Literally. And even though it's not that embarrassing, it's one of those things where it's like things that aren't actually embarrassing, but that feel embarrassing when
yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, no, I've gotten quite well. I've only read 18 pages, but I'm definitely.
That's amazing. That's so quick.
I mean, it's not the smallest writing, like it's fairly, decent sized writing, and also like quite fast paced so far. So yeah. I'm enjoying it. Not much has happened yet. It's kind of just setting the premise of this like retirement village and the various characters that are sort of coming together in the Thursday Murder Club. And then they're also meeting with an actual police officer. So that's an interesting thing. So yeah, but I'm enjoying it. What about you?
I read how many pages? 15 pages, which I'm like quite happy with.
Nice.
This book is amazing. Like honestly, one of the best things I've ever read. It's like everything I want in a book. It's just very dark. It's very kind of like there's loads of betrayal. You can never trust any of the characters. It's just like perfect for this time of year. So I was trying to like not smile too much because I was like, people are gonna think I'm so strange reading this book and like smiling to myself. But it's just one of those books that just is so good.
What is it about, or what is the first one about? Obviously, this one's like the sequel to.
Yeah, so the first book, Kingdom of the Wicked, is about, it's set in the 1800s in Italy, and it's about two twin sisters who are witches, and one of the witches is like violently murdered and her sister finds her body.
Ooh.
And basically she has to, all their lives, these witches have been like told never ever work with the seven princes of hell because like they're kind of out for witches' blood basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Amelia, our main character, finds out her sister's been murdered, she has to work with one of the seven princes of hell to solve the murder. And it's just incredible. Like at first the writing seems quite what's the word, like kind of like cheesy, I guess, and I don't know, it just falls into quite a lot of like the usual tropes with like a fantasy romance. But oh my god, it's become absolutely amazing, and I'm obsessed. What can I say? I'm a sucker for any kind of book with kind of like a forbidden-esque romance, I guess. So obviously things happen between our main character and one of the princes of hell, of course. So yeah, it's just so good. I'm just such a sucker for stuff like that.
I really like the sound of that, but like in terms of fantasy, I've read so little, like hardly anything at all, really. Like I've read a couple of the Game of Thrones books, which are obviously like full-on fantasy. I've read the Lord of the Rings series, and then I've read the Holly Black one, the like
the Folk of the Air.
Yeah, with the crawl
one. Yeah.
And I read that full trilogy, and I did really like that. But then I just haven't really gotten into anything else like that. So maybe I'll try that series.
Yeah, you should definitely try it out. I think I really like historical fantasy, or like any kind of more with a historic element to it, the best.
Yeah, I don't like, so I know a lot of people love Six of Crows. I really didn't, because I didn't like that
interesting
industrial setting. Something that's like more historical, I would get on with a bit more.
Yeah, I think with Six of Crows, it's very kind of like, I guess industrial is the right word for it, actually. It feels very like gritty, which usually I wouldn't like, but I think it's the whole like six perspectives kind of, I don't know, it was different enough for me to be like, oh, this is actually really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you read Leigh Bardugo's Ninth House?
Yes, I have read that.
What did you think of that? Obviously not as fantasy-esque, it's more obviously like dark academia.
Yeah, it's kind of like the cross between dark academia and then like elements of like the paranormal and fantasy. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I think maybe I'm just like not a huge fan of Lee Bardugo's writing because so many people love it. I'm definitely in the minority of people, but that one I preferred significantly to Six of Crows.
Six of Crows,
because I liked the like academic setting and the like mystery crime solving situation. And I felt like there was like some gaps for me, like where I just felt like I didn't really know what was going, like not that I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't know why things were happening. And it was one of those situations where I just felt like it didn't need to be made into a sequel, like there didn't need to be that opening to move on to the next book, but it was just kind of because that's the thing to do. So yeah.
I agree with that actually. I felt you're kind of like waiting. I hate those books where it's like you're kind of waiting for something to happen and then you find the end to the mystery and then that's the end of the first book. It's like, okay, great. It's like, where do we go from here? I have to wait a year for the next book now.
Yeah. Actually, no, I have read another fantasy recently, and that was, well, it was a few months ago now for the Dark Academics book club, and we read Legendborn.
Okay.
Which, I don't know if you've read that, but
no.
It certainly got some similarities to Ninth House because it's set at a university. There's like secret societies, there is like magical elements and a crime that needs to be solved. And I felt like Legendborn had more depth to it in terms of like knowing the main character a bit better and also understanding like the magic systems and all of that kind of stuff. I felt like it just kind of where Ninth House lacked a little bit for me, that kind of had a bit more substance.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I do actually have Legendborn, so maybe I'll try that next. I've just finished, like the first book I finished for the readathon was actually The Maidens. Have you read that one?
I haven't, but earlier this year I read The Silent Patient and I loved that. So I definitely want to read The Maidens.
The Maidens was, I've not actually read The Silent Patient in full. I think I started it, but I didn't finish it for some reason. And The Maidens was so amazing. It's just the most atmospheric, very addictive thriller. It's so good.
I remember I listened to The Silent Patient, so I didn't have a physical copy, and I was listening to it the week that we moved house to this house, and so I just flew through it, and it was so good. So I would definitely recommend it, and if you didn't get on with the physical copy, then maybe the audiobook. It was, I thought, a really good one.
Yeah, I definitely need to get into audio. I think I've only listened to one book on audio. But I just think I'd get so much more read if I listened to audiobooks.
Well, this was me this time last year. I'd never listened to an audiobook ever. And then I started off with Lauren Graham's Talking as Fast as I Can because I'd heard that you had to read that one like by audio because she narrates it and it was just so much better. So I listened to that one. And then I listened to the first Call the Midwife book. Like memoir that it was based on, and then I listened to Group by Christy Tate. So I kind of started off with memoirs because I was really enjoying hearing. Well, Call the Midwife wasn't narrated by the person who wrote it because she is dead, but all of the other ones I was listening to, I was trying to find memoirs that were narrated by their author, and I felt like that added a lot to the narrative. But then, like gradually, I've started listening to fiction ones as well. Usually, in the case where I need to have read something for a live show and I haven't done it yet, I need to read as much as I can. But I do really enjoy them now, so I would recommend.
That's good. Yeah, I think I need to. Everyone was on my first live show of the weekend. Hopefully, I think I've seen a few people who were watching that one. But everyone was talking about how good Daisy Jones from the Six was on audio. So I've never read that book, so I feel like I need to read that one on audio. I think
I read that one physically, but everyone says that's like a lot of people's favorite audiobook because obviously it's full cast and it's new format. So I think that would probably be a good one to try. I also listened to a bit of It by Stephen King on audio as well, and that wasn't full cast, but it was really good. And then I listened to another one recently that was full cast and I can't remember which one it was, which is probably not good. What is it? Oh yeah, it was Jane Austen one. It was Pride and Prejudice. And
amazing.
a full Jane Austen collection on Audible, so it has all 6 novels in one huge 40-hour
Oh my
audio.
gosh! Wow.
And then they're each like narrated by like an actress. So the one who was Pride and Prejudice was Claire Foy.
Oh, cool.
Emma Thompson does Emma, and Billie Piper does one, and there's a couple of other people as well. So they're the narrator's voice, and then there's also casted like audio for the characters, like the dialogue parts. It's not like a direct translation from her novels. It's kind of more like if they turned Pride and Prejudice or whatever into a radio drama.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
It's kind of like it sort of intersects book and film and just kind of like meets in the middle. So I really liked that as well, so would recommend. And it's also great because you only have to use 1 credit, but you get 6 books, which is a steal.
That's amazing. Maybe I'll do that. I really need to like renew my Audible subscription then. Maybe I'll get into audiobooks finally after like so many years of being on BookTube and being a reader and everything. But cool. Yeah, I have heard amazing things about the Jane Austen audiobooks actually. So also I feel like maybe it will help me, you know, if I get tired of reading Mansfield Park like physically, I can just swap over to that one. So
the only thing I struggled with was because it's not written in like it's like split into parts rather than chapters, so finding your place can be a bit of a struggle. Once you found it makes sense, but like at first I'm like, is this even the same book? But then eventually you figure out where you are.
Amazing. Those are really good tips though. I think, yeah, I've been meaning to get into audio, so maybe I'll do that. I've just seen some comments. So just people saying how many pages they read in the last reading sprint. So Rachel read 13 pages, 10 pages, and 25. Oh my gosh, 25 pages is a lot in 15 minutes.
Quick, yeah.
That's like so impressive. And then Sandra said, I just joined when you started to talk about Kingdom of the Wicked, which is the book I'm currently reading. Amazing. Well, you have lots to look forward to in the sequel. I can promise you that. And then Megan said, Juliette Marillier does early Celtic-based fantasy, often set in forests. Less full-on fantasy, more like fairy tale retellings. Yeah, I've heard amazing things about this author actually. And I don't think she's like still writing. I have a feeling she might be an older author, but I've heard good things.
Have been out for quite a while, and some of them are like out of print and like difficult to get hold of.
Okay.
I have read one of her books, Daughter of the Forest, and that was really good. It's kind of based loosely on some kind of mythology for like 7 swans or something like that. There are different versions of it, but it's basically a girl, a wicked stepmother, all of her brothers who love her are turned into swans, and then it's kind of on her to try and fix it, but she also can't talk throughout the duration of this, so she has to kind of like try and journey and help her brothers without actually being able to speak. But it was really, really atmospheric, really good. But I remember had to go through like a really weird process to order it because it was like out of print at the time. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got it on my shelf somewhere. I don't know. Honestly, lose books in this household. But yeah, I've been meaning to read her books actually because I have heard really good stuff. Megan's actually followed up to say she's still writing books. So great. Hopefully I'll be on that soon. And I guess maybe in 2 minutes time we can start another reading sprint. So we'll give everyone 2 minutes warning for that. But let me and Ciara know in the chat as well, but what book you'll be reading. I think I'm going to continue on with Kingdom of the Curse because as I was ranting before, I am very obsessed with this book.
And likewise, I will carry on with the Thursday Murder Club. I never know where to hold books on these.
I know. It's because it's like, is it this way? Who knows?
But yeah, I'm going to carry on with this one.
Excellent choice. Yeah, because I think the sequel's come out of the
it has. I think that's what finally pushed me to want to read it because I love Richard Osman on Pointless. But I just had never gotten around to it, and then I saw the sequel and I thought, no, I'm going to do it. And hopefully it will be a good decision.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing. Well, I think I will put up the banner. So if we do another 15 minutes, that might be like another short burst, and then we can of course have more book chat. And after the sprint ends, we should probably talk more about autumn as well, Ciara, because I know you are like the queen. You are like the queen of autumn. All your vlogs are so atmospheric, so we'll definitely have to talk about that for sure.
Okay, right, let's do it.
Brilliant. Okay, let's read until the next hour. Okay, I think it is time. How many pages did you manage to get read, Ciara?
I am on page 33 now, and I was on page 18 before, so like 15 pages. Is that?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is putting my maths on the spot.
I might be wrong there. I think it's around about 15 pages. So yeah.
That's pretty good going, definitely. I feel like my reading massively slowed down there. I read, I think, 13 pages. I always find that when there's like no dialogue phrases, it just really slows things down for me. Like I always tend to just like jump to the next bit of dialogue. I'm so bad.
No, I know what you mean. It's a lot easier to skim when it's a huge section of description with nothing to break it up. So yeah, I definitely sympathise.
For sure. How are you enjoying the Thursday Murder Club?
It's fun, yeah. I'm like just waiting to see how it's all piecing together because there's no murder has happened yet. They're only kind of looking at historical cases and solving them for fun. But I know there's going to be an actual murder that happens in their genuine community. So I'm kind of waiting for that to happen. I think that's when it'll up. But it's good so far, yeah.
Oh, exciting. Let us know in the chat, by the way, guys, how many pages you've read and what books you're reading for that sprint as well. I can see a few people saying what books they read. So someone read Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I've been meaning to read this. Is it a series? I'm pretty sure this is. I think it's by Talia Hibbert, maybe. I think this is a romance series.
I think that's the first one. And then I've seen another one that was like a very similar style of title, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
So I think
sure.
It's part of a series.
Definitely. And then Adriana, who's actually my little sister, thanks for joining, Addy, is reading The Anne King by Julie Kagawa at the minute, which is amazing. Yeah, she's I think she's a fantasy fan like me, which I'm very pleased about. So yeah, very cute. Yeah, but let us know in the comments, guys, how many pages you managed to read and what you're reading. We've got 11 pages here, which is good going, definitely. I always find that those reading sprints go so quickly, like 15 minutes seems like a long enough time, but then it goes like so instantly.
You literally look up and it's like, oh, there's 2 minutes left. How did that happen?
I know. It is pretty crazy. But let's talk about autumn, because obviously this weekend is the Cosy Autumn Readathon, which is my first readathon, which is very exciting. But I'm just a big autumn nerd, so I was like, I need to create the coziest readathon. And I know, obviously, Ciara, you have also started a autumn readathon.
Yeah.
And that was at the beginning of the month, is that right?
Yes, that was a couple of weeks ago now, right at the beginning of October. That was the full into autumn readathon, which we did last year as well, and we decided to resurrect that for this autumn as well, because I mean, any excuse to just have a cozy autumn weekend.
Definitely. And what is like, this is going to sound like I'm interviewing you, which is a bit strange, but I'm genuinely interested. Like, what is your perfect autumn day? Like, what does that look like for you?
Ooh, okay. So in terms of how it looks outside, I'm setting the scene. It would be a crisp, cool autumn day. So there would be blue skies, but some clouds in the sky to kind of break it up a little bit. So then you appreciate the blue sky bits a little bit more.
Yeah.
There would be trees that are still a little bit green, but are starting to turn autumnal. So you can just start to, autumn is coming, but it's not fully arrived just yet. And then you leave the house quite early in the morning to go for a nice walk. You go get a coffee, sit down, enjoy a cozy cafe where you're all nice and warm, but it's crisp and cold outside. Then I think you would head home. You maybe do a little bit of autumn baking. My go-to is always cinnamon rolls because
excellent. Yeah,
amazing. Or also maybe you would, on the way home from your autumn walk, go pick some blackberries and then make an apple crumble. And
that's a good shout.
You would probably have many cups of tea and probably watch something autumnal on TV. So Gilmore Girls is always a good choice. Or if you're feeling brave, then maybe a horror film.
That's amazing. Yeah, like that is it to a T, isn't it? I think like, I don't know, there's just something about autumn which for me, it's a weird one where it's like I love the season that it's colder because I'm just like not a summer person at all in terms of like the heat just doesn't do it for me, you know. But like it's like the change of seasons, how everything just looks so much prettier. It's colder, you get to wear jumpers and jeans and boots, which are just like my all-time favorite things to wear. But also it's like I just feel so much more productive in the autumn. Like I don't know if it's that like back to school feeling, which I still get even though I'm definitely not in school anymore.
No, honestly, like I just get that back to school feeling in September every year. You know, it's now been several years since I've been in any kind of education, so it's like I don't know, it feels like a new year, but I actually feel like I am more productive at the September new year than I am in January. I don't really do anything different in January, but
yeah, I'm the same actually. I find like September I'm like, even though I have no real like reason to, I'm always like I've got to get new stationery. Like that's the thing. Every September I'm like I just need to go to Paper Chase and buy all the nice notebooks and just like feel prepared as if I'm starting school again, which is a bit strange, but I love it. Everything about autumn.
I love it too.
Well, that's the thing. Also, like all your vlogs are so cozy. Like I feel like because you put in, you know, all the shots of you baking and like all the cozy books you read, I feel like your vlogs are just like perfect for this time of year as well.
Thank you. That makes me so pleased because that is 100% the vibe I'm going for. But I think obviously I sometimes wonder to myself when I'm editing, I'm like, have I filmed too many shots of me just doing things? Like, have I filmed myself making a cup of tea one too many times? But then I'm like,
yes, oh my gosh, I feel like that as well sometimes with myself. It's like, how many times can I get this exact shot of me just making a cup of tea? But
I'm like, how can I move the angle slightly so it's like same but also different?
It's so true. I know. And obviously this time of year is perfect for watching Gilmore Girls, which you are like the Gilmore Girls super fan on BookTube. What is your favorite like autumn episode?
Oh, see, do you know, I really struggle with autumn episodes because I don't have a specific one in mind because for me, so much of the show feels autumnal, even though it's not actually set at that time of year. And obviously, the very first episode, I think, it has those kinds of vibes because it's got that kind of back to school feeling, even though it's not a back to school episode, but it's Rory changing schools. I feel like it has that kind of vibe. I also really like the Thanksgiving one where Rory and Lorelai are going around and doing all the different Thanksgiving dinners. That one is really fun.
That one's so good.
Yeah, I just think in general it's the vibe of Gilmore Girls that makes it so autumnal, which means that like I can watch it at any time of year and feel autumnal because it just has such a cozy vibe.
It's so true. I feel like even you're so true. It's so true in the sense that like even if it's not like an autumnal episode on the surface, it just feels like the whole show is just set in autumn just because it's so cozy and just because they're constantly drinking coffee and like obviously Stars Hollow is just the quaintest town ever, but it's so perfect. What did you think of the Year in a Life or whatever it's called, the kind of sequel? I watched that recently because I've just actually, like, I think it was about this time last year I finished my complete Gilmore Girls watch-a-thon, I guess. I watched it all for the first time and then I watched the Netflix sequel. What did you think of that?
So let's bear in mind as well, so I had watched Gilmore Girls like years ago. I think I started watching it in like year 10 or something like that.
Oh wow.
Study leave, and I remember like having time at home, which obviously was supposed to be for revision, but obviously wasn't really. I remember watching a lot of Made in Chelsea and a lot of Gilmore Girls.
Excellent.
And I really got into it. So I've seen it quite a few times. And then there was like, you know, a gap where it wasn't on E4 anymore. And then I could watch it on TV. And then it got added to Netflix. So I rewatched it. And then they did the Year in the Life. So I was disappointed is the way I would describe it, because I think it was an unnecessary addition that actually kind of, like, it was doing a lot of fan service, like bringing up like references and jokes and characters that you know, they were just like, remember that, oh, there's that guy.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it didn't feel very authentic. And I also feel like they ruined characters. Like, you could have had in your head like a really nice image of what happened, and then it's like, no, that didn't happen. It's a lie. Rory in particular, like a lot of people don't like Rory in general. I think a lot of people after she goes to college dislike her. I don't share that opinion because I think, you know, how many of us had everything together and were completely, you know, mature people who knew what we wanted to do with our lives and never made a mistake or fell out with our parents and everything when we were, you know, 18, 20, whatever. Like, we all make mistakes even now, you know, it's like people aren't perfect. And I feel like she was very much dealing with like perfectionism and then couldn't cope. Derailed, and so went completely in the other direction. And when you're upset, you usually lash out at the people you're closest to. So I think that kind of accounts for why there was the big fallout with her and Lorelai. So I don't dislike Rory, and by the end of it, I think she's kind of come back and is still, you know, very much a young woman figuring out what to do with her life. And I was very happy to kind of see, okay, she's on the path, she's found a job, she's making moves. And then to find out that she was just doing nothing, I'm like,
yeah, I know.
That's not the Rory that we know. Like, even if things hadn't gone exactly to plan, like, she wouldn't just be ambling around doing nothing. And I think that she actually would have maybe gone into teaching, you know? Like, she was kind of offered that position of teaching at Chiltern by the headmaster, and I think maybe she wouldn't have gone into teaching at high school, but like, she was so into the academic side of her life, like that was everything. I think actually for her to find out, oh, I don't want to be a journalist, but maybe I want to be a professor, like,
yeah, that would have been like nice full circle moment, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for her to then have like students like her that she's like guiding on their path to whatever future they decide. Like, I feel like that would have been such a nicer and more fitting future for a character who was so ambitious and so talented. And I just thought the way that went on, you know, not ideal. And then also to just still be in the same like on again, off again thing with Logan.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was the thing that annoyed me the most about it. I was like, there's been no progress made. But
and then also felt like Luke and Lorelai, they were kind of just like stagnant, like they'd not progressed any further. It was very disappointing. I think the only character from the season of A Year in the Life that I found was like actually satisfying to watch was Emily, because I felt like with her and the grief experience, there was like an authenticity of like, suddenly you're, you know, a widow and you don't know what to do with yourself, and your whole life has shifted, and it's like, what do? Do you reinvent yourself? How do things change? And I think that is realistic to people, because, you know, quite often it is the case that women do live like a fair bit longer than men, like biologically and statistically you're more likely to outlive your husband than the other way around. And so I think that knowledge that she is like, I'm not ill, I might live several years left, and what do I do with myself? I think it was interesting to see that like unfold, and that was the only satisfying bit of the Year in the Life.
I agree. Yeah, it was so disappointing. Yeah, I agree. Like, because I kind of finished off the series being like, oh my gosh, like such an optimistic note, and like I just feel, you know, there's even more Gilmore Girls to watch. And then I watched that and I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, but Emily was I think Emily's probably my favorite character ever. I just find her absolutely hilarious and I adore her. So I kind of like, it was good to see her come into her own a bit more in the Year in the Life or whatever it was. I can see a comment here saying, I can totally imagine Rory as a teacher. I do love the scene with Jess in the newspaper office. That was like, oh my God, I'm a big Jess fan. So that was like amazing. I love
that.
Yeah,
I think Jess in the main series is one of the characters who I think has the most like satisfying arc, because he just has such a lot of growth, and like I think people are harsh on him considering that he had like a pretty rubbish upbringing and like was just kind of passed around people. I think it's understandable how he behaved in the earlier seasons. It doesn't excuse his behavior, but I think people are quite harsh on him compared to Dean, who was like,
oh god, I hate Dean. Yeah.
He made some questionable decisions and has really no reason to have made them. So I think it was really nice to see Jess grow as a person, and for him have that like reconciliation in the like when she's in her moment of crisis, for him to kind of like come and sort of be like, it's kind of a role reversal. Like she used to be the strong, stable, predictable one who you could rely on, and then it was kind of like reversed, and that was nice. But yeah,
definitely.
What do you, so talking about Gilmore Girls in general, I mean, you've probably like hinted at this now, but who is your Rory guy? Like, who do you think she should be with?
100% Jess. I just feel like he gets her, and it's like, I feel like Logan, of course, I feel like Logan's the kind of end game, obviously, but I just feel like I just find Logan a little bit problematic and doesn't really understand like who Rory is, whilst I feel like Jess kind of accepts Rory for who she is, I guess. So that, I've always been a Jess girl. I don't know why.
Me too. I always quite fancied him as well, so that was probably.
Oh my god, yeah.
I was like, absolutely. But I think genuinely he's the best fit for her, because like I think her and Dean, very nice, young love, all that kind of stuff, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but I think on their like fundamental life ambitions, they were so different.
Very different, yeah.
They would have 100% grown apart, whether it was then or if they'd have stayed together, it would have happened later on as well. So I just think they would not have been a good fit. It wouldn't have been good for either of them. I think Jess and Rory, if they'd have met in Yale, like in the same way that Rory and Logan met, I think they would have been ideal, because I think intellectually and interest-wise, they were such a great match, and also like they were kind of like two sides of the same coin. So they fundamental similarity and connection, but they were also different enough from each other that they like brought out different sides of everyone, and I just thought that was really nice. And then with Logan, I think he's a better fit for her than Dean is, but I still think they have terrible communication skills, and that's
so true.
Not the foundation for a good relationship.
No, definitely
and then
not.
With Lorelai, who do you think that she should be with?
100% Luke. I don't understand. Like, can there be another answer to this though? Like,
I have to say, when it was like in the earlier seasons, when Christopher comes back in and he makes that promise to Rory that it will work out this time, and they'll get to be a family. I have to say, I was rooting for them then, because I think Rory was still so young at that point, and she'd suffered from their sort of broken relationship, and I just think like they were kind of like they should work, but they just for some reason don't. I just think he's a super toxic person, is Christopher, and I interestingly, I'm just currently watching Private Practice on Amazon Prime, which is a spin-off of Grey's Anatomy, and Christopher is in that, but obviously, the actor who plays Christopher, he was an equally toxic romantic in there as well, and I'm like, that actor plays that
so well.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, I just find Christopher a bit slimy. I don't really know why. Like, that's just the impression I get.
He loves himself, and also like never is able to really take responsibility for his actions, or when he does, it's very false. It feels like I'm sorry, but, and then nothing ever changes. I feel like he's just a wrong-un.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page there. Also, Luke is just so, I don't know.
Yeah, I do love Luke. He frustrates me.
He obviously has his problems, yeah.
Because I'm like, later on, the whole thing where the breakdown of his and Lorelai's relationship was so avoidable that it's like, it kills me because I'm like, this did not need to happen. And
No.
it's the communication. Why are these people so bad at communicating?
I know. I guess it would make for a lot shorter of a series if they were all excellent communicators, though. Like, there'd be no drama. It would all be like smooth sailing. I mean, it would make, because I like don't really like, especially with a TV show, I really hate angst. Like, I really don't like it when characters aren't communicating. So Gilmore Girls, like the constant back and forth between Luke and Lorelai, and then Christopher kind of popping in and out, like just the whole thing. I was just like, this is too much for me. Just sort it out, you know. But it wouldn't have made for a compelling TV show at all.
No,
but
we have a couple of elements of that with like Jackson and Suki and things like that.
Yeah,
I think that was fun, and also like to a purpose, Richard and Emily when they kind of have a bit of a rocky time, and then like them coming back together. So
wholesome. Oh my god.
So yeah, it's such a great show. I do need to go and rewatch it from the start because whenever I just want to watch one episode, I'll just watch season 3, which is the Rory and Jess season.
Yes. Oh my god. Totally. It is just so comforting. I really, really love it. What are some of your your other kind of comfort TV shows and movies and stuff?
Okay, so I just talked about Private Practice, which I started watching because Grey's Anatomy is my life at the moment. I love it so much.
I haven't seen one episode of Grey's Anatomy, but I feel like everyone loves it.
Based on what you just said, there is a lot of angst and a lot of poor communication and stuff. I do love it. It's so good. I'm not sure if I could count this as a comfort show, but I really want to rewatch The Crown because I did love that.
Yeah, I feel like it is comforting in some ways. It's very because it's so understated, and obviously they live a life of complete wealth and luxury. It feels very cozy, I guess.
And also like there's an air of nostalgia because it's like a retrospect type of thing.
Yeah.
Also just watched Downton Abbey. That's got a very nice and similar cozy vibe. What else? Favorite shows that I love to rewatch would be like Peep Show. I just think it's so funny and just like a great one to just watch whenever you fancy. Call the Midwife. There we go. That's the one.
Oh, I love Call the Midwife. Yeah, that's like peak cozy Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening viewing.
Absolutely amazing. It's just incredible. Every time I watch it, I'm like, gonna become a midwife, and then I'm like, no, you have a job already. Don't do it. But
I'll retrain.
Yeah. Literally every January when the new series comes out, I'm like Googling midwifery courses and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, stop.
I love it. Well, it's never too late. You never know. Maybe the next series will convince you finally.
I know. I'm like, I do think I would love it, but then equally, I'm like, that's a whole degree that you'd have to get to.
Yeah, it would take you a long time probably, for sure.
Do you have any other like go-to faves?
All of mine are pretty, well, it kind of sums me up in a nutshell. They're either historical or they're fantasy. So for me, the TV series of North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. Okay. I don't know if you've watched that, but it's on, I think it's still on Netflix. It is the most coziest, comforting, escapist, romantic show ever, and North and South is one of my favorite classics of all time. So
I really need to read it. I really do.
We should do a read along. Oh my god, it's so good.
Jay bought me it for my birthday like 2 or 3 years ago, and I've still not read it. So absolutely.
Okay, good plan.
Do that, yes.
Let us know in the chat if you're watching if you would like a North and South read along. So I'm always keen. I'm like the biggest North and South pusher ever. I'm just like, everyone has to read it.
I need someone to like shout out to read it. So yeah, definitely.
So yeah, definitely North and South because it's got Richard Armitage in it. I'm obsessed with him. It's so good. And then also The Vampire Diaries. Like, I don't know if you have watched that, but I remember watching it whilst I was in school.
Yeah.
And basically, I remember watching the first ever episode. I think I was in like sixth form, and then it lasted all the way until I kind of graduated university. it's just the ultimate kind of nostalgia comfort show, but it's like so romantic and it's so dramatic and just like typical teenage show.
Yeah.
But The Vampire Diaries is amazing, so I watch that often, quite a lot. I'm trying to think what else is like a comfort show. Obviously Gilmore Girls, as we said. And then I'm trying to think what else. I also really love a show which I've gone back and watched a few times called The White Queen, which is a TV adaptation of the book by Philippa Gregory, which is all about like basically like I think it's about Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville. So it's like a historical royal drama, basically. But I'm a big historical fiction fan, so anything that's like a dramatization of that, I'm a sucker for. But yeah, that's honestly amazing. I'd recommend that. Someone has actually said Queen's Gambit. I've got to say, I agree with that.
Have you seen it? Good. Yeah, I watched it last, like, I think we started it on like New Year's Eve last year and then watched it over the last few days of like the Christmas break, and it was incredible. Not sure I'd consider it a comfort show for me necessarily. It's intense and like very dramatic, but so incredible. And I'm a big fan of Anya Taylor-Joy because I just think she is amazing, especially in Emma.
See, that's the one adaptation I haven't watched yet, and I've heard amazing things.
So good. I mean, like, so obviously there is her in it. We've got Miranda in it as I think Miss Bates. Then there is who plays like Mr. Elton, the Reverend guy.
Oh yeah,
it's played by Josh O'Connor, who's obviously Prince Charles in The Crown.
Oh my gosh, wow!
It's such a different side to him, like way more like obviously silly and flamboyant. And then another show I love is the BBC 2016 miniseries of War and Peace, which
like
I would watch that. Like if I could only watch one thing ever again, it'd be between that and Grey's Anatomy, I think, because it is just so incredible. And the guy who plays Anatole Karagin in that, Callum Turner, he is Frank Churchill in Emma.
Oh wow!
It's such an incredible cast. I just think they did it amazingly, and I love it.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that War and Peace adaptation. I remember when it kind of came on, like maybe a few years ago. I haven't been brave enough to start the book yet. I don't know if anyone else has read War and Peace.
Jay and I were in Edinburgh like a few years ago. It was like 2016 January time. We'd gone for like a long weekend in Edinburgh, and we were just like in the Premier Inn hotel flicking through the TV, and we saw a scene of War and Peace that was so dramatic. It was like, we have to watch this. It looked incredible.
Oh, wow.
Seen it before. And then we went home, started again from the start of it, and got really into it. And then eventually I decided to read the book, and then the book is incredible. I think watching the show first made it a lot easier to process.
Okay.
There's such a large cast of characters, and that really helped to break it down and make all of the connections make sense. But the show is incredible, one of the best adaptations I've ever seen. So I would recommend it. And then another adaptation that I think is amazing is the 2019 Little Women with Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh. I mean, so good.
It's so good. Oh my God. I cry every single time I watch that film as well. I would say that's actually a comfort watch for me, despite the emotional turmoil of it.
There's emotional turmoil, but I think it's an optimistic ending. So it's like, we can get over it all. But who is, that's a good question, your favourite of the March sisters?
That's a really, really good question. I would say Jo, just because like, obviously she's a writer, and I like the fact that she is such a, kind of a bit of a meddler and a go-getter. Yeah, so I think I don't think I relate to her, but I think she is definitely my favorite of the March sisters.
Yeah.
But then I think I probably relate a bit more to Meg, because I think that would be me. Like I'd be the one, the sensible one, just being like, okay, let's just you know. But I don't know. What about you?
My favorite is Amy, I just think, you know, again, I'm a sucker for character growth. Like that, I like to root for the ones people don't like, as long as they end up good in the end. And I think Amy, you know, I think people judge her quite harshly, especially in the new one, because they obviously didn't use a young actress. Well, I mean, Florence was young in the sense of like life, but in terms of like the age of Amy at the beginning of the book, she was obviously in her 20s, and Amy is like 12 or whatever at the start. So I think people judge her more harshly because she looks like she's a lot older, whereas actually, like, you can account for like she was the, you know, youngest child in a family of sisters, and she was probably babied, and also like younger children tend to be a bit more spoiled and have less awareness of what's going on around them because they're, you know, being treated by the older ones and they take on a lot more work. And I think people treat her very harshly, but actually like the growth that she goes on and the understanding she has of the role that she needs to play in the family and in sort of like a profitable marriage, if it's a horrible way to phrase it, but I think she has a lot of growth, and I think Florence Pugh did an amazing job of portraying her, like older Amy, but I really love her, and I think she's relatable because, you know, we're not all perfect, and I think it's far more relatable to have those parts of yourself that are not so marketable and still have like a good, but like we're not all perfect characters. So you love Amy, but equally I think probably on reality I'm more of a Meg as well, just like a settle down, happy to have a Jersey house,
have an easy life.
That would be nice.
I know, for sure. I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think Amy is like hated on a bit, which is kind of like surprising considering, you know, I think she is the most like open with her own flaws, I guess.
I feel like her and Jo, I think, are far more similar than people like to admit, because they're usually, when you ask people, it's like Jo's the favourite and Amy's the least favourite, but actually they're both fairly selfish and, you know, both ambitious, both have their goals, and both are willing to put their goals before anything else, you know, like but for some reason in Jo that is seen as like admirable ambition, but then in Amy it's seen as like selfish and careless, and I just think interesting that there is that distinction when actually they're quite similar to each other.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. I like it. I've seen someone say, I'm planning to read and watch Little Women this December for the first time. I'm very jealous of like you watching that film for the first time, because the first time I watched the film, I was honestly like blown away. I must say, having read Little Women, I was not aware that it's kind of one half of the story, and that is it Little Wives is the second half of it, I think it's so basically I don't know if it's Little Wives or something like that.
And then it's definitely something Wives, but I think it's a different preface. But but then the novel that is now sold as Little Women is both combined, I believe.
Yeah, I think the weird thing is I got this edition from, I think it's like a Penguin edition, but it's like I can't remember what edition it is anyway, but they sell the second one, the whatever it is, something Wives, separately. So I finished it and I was like, where's the rest of the book? Oh, okay, you've got a much chunkier one. Yeah, mine is like, it's here somewhere, but it's just so tiny.
This beautiful cover was definitely an inspiration to read it.
Love that edition. Oh my god, so much. That's gorgeous. Yeah, that's an amazing edition. Yeah, I've got this one, which is the V&A William Morris collection.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is, but it's also like half the book. So I finished it and I was like, oh, it ends on a rather strange tone, but oh well. But yeah.
I'm trying to find it. It doesn't say in here, but I've definitely seen it elsewhere. The fact that it is really too. These are like the puffin editions, and they've got like in the back I just saw there is also in this version Anne of Green Gables, A Little Princess, and also another one I have, which is a Heidi.
Oh, those editions are gorgeous. I'm actually I'm gonna have to investigate this, which is bad news for my bookshelves because, as you can see, they are kind of overfilling right now.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Definitely.
Sean has said, I watched Little Women with my mum, prefer the 90s version with Winona Ryder. I don't think I've seen that version.
I think I have, and I think my mum also agrees that she prefers that version. However, I just think, I mean, it could not be a better cast for the 2019 one. Like,
yeah,
I think Saoirse Ronan is amazing. I think Timothée Chalamet did a great job. Florence Pugh, I love her. And then I think also like Laura Dern as
yes. Oh my god, I love Laura Dern. Yeah.
So yeah, it was amazing. Loved it.
Definitely. I've just seen someone saying when's the next sprint. So I imagine. So actually, I think if the next sprint starts at 22, so 40 minutes past the hour, and then it will be a slightly longer sprint, so 20 minutes, and then we'll probably wrap up. Yeah. So do let us know for the next 5 minutes if you have any questions for Ciara and I in the chat. Always love to answer your questions. Can be about anything, Gilmore Girls, as we talked for so long about that, but no regrets. I'm glad to have the opportunity to chat about Gilmore Girls with you, Ciara, though, because like you are like, whenever I like see your channel pop up, I'm always like, I associate you with Gilmore Girls. So
and that makes me very happy to hear. I feel like I could talk about Gilmore Girls for so long. And I also I listen to some podcasts like the Gilmore Guys podcast. And I think
really?
I could, and they like basically watch an episode. One of them is, I don't know if you've ever listened to it. So it's essentially two guys watching Gilmore Girls and discussing it, but one of them is a long-time fan of Gilmore Girls and the other one is watching it for the very first time, like live throughout the podcast. So
wow.
It's very hectic, at least at the beginning. It's like chaotic energy, which I think kind of matches Lorelai and Rory's energy. And it's so hilarious, but it makes me think like, I don't think other people are as interested in Gilmore Girls as I am. If they were, I could so do a full-on like breakdown of the series and like just dive deep because there's so much to say.
Yeah, there is so much to say about it. I think and also everyone has like very specific opinions. So I think you should definitely do a podcast. I would definitely listen to that for sure. But yeah. And I guess like a final question from me would be like, what is your favorite autumn read? Like, what is one book that reminds you of autumn that you've read? Sorry, this is really hard. I'm just throwing the hard questions at you.
They're difficult to choose, but what I'm gonna go with is The Guest List by Lucy Fernley.
Okay, excellent.
I think The Hunting Party I also really like, but that one is set around New Year's Eve, so that kind of gives me wintry vibes more so. But this one I think just has an atmosphere that feels autumnal in the sense of like a stormy setting. There is mystery and intrigue and murder, but I also think that it's not too dark. Like it's not terrifying, but it's interesting, and I just think it's a really, really great one. So
yeah, I've been meaning to read that one actually. Like I've seen that everywhere.
Yeah, I just think so many different perspectives and so many different layers, and it goes between a couple of different timelines, and I just love the way that it all builds up to create just this like intense mystery, and I think they're really fun. So both of her books I would definitely recommend.
Amazing. Yeah, I definitely need to. I definitely just need to read more crime thrillers. I love watching them. Like I love a really tense like TV drama, like a crime drama, but I just need to buy more, evidently. So yeah, we've got some
to watch. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just about to say we've got some love here for the guest list. So there you go.
Love it.
Yeah, but I definitely need to read some Lucy Foley because I've just heard amazing things.
Yeah, no, I really do recommend her books, especially if you're like new to the genre or you don't read it a lot. Like I don't think they're too heavy because I don't really like a thriller that's like super in-depth or like really dense. Like I think I find ones that are a bit faster paced. So like that and The Silent Patient both kind of fulfill what I'm looking for from like a thriller where it's not too taxing, because I'm not a detective. I'm not trying to be a detective. I don't want a fun time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just here for the ride. It's all good. Yeah. Well, I've come away with 2 recommendations now, so I'm going to go and get those books after this live stream. But all good. Well, let's try and start another sprint. And also let us know in the chat what book you're reading, if you're new and you've just joined us. So we'll be sprinting for the next 20 minutes up until 5 p.m. UK time. So I hope you can join us. I will start it now.
Amazing.
Cool. Well, I'm very excited to get back into Kingdom of the Curse, as you can imagine. I'm absolutely loving it. Happy reading.
Going back to the Murder Club.
Enjoy. Okay, we're at 5 o'clock.
Wow, perfect. We've got to the end of a chapter.
Oh, good. Yeah, me too, actually. I don't know if anyone can see it. I'm on chapter 17.
Oh,
but yeah, it's getting so good. How was your book?
Good. I made it to page 61, so quite a
you've
good.
read quite a lot then.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's starting to get dramatic now. The murder in question has taken place, so
okay, excellent.
I'm enjoying it. I also just think some of the characters being a bit older, they're just making me laugh. So there was like a day trip from the retirement village to like a seaside town, and in this seaside town is a vegan cafe, and one of the residents says, I'm not vegan and I have no intention of ever becoming one, but I still feel like it's something that should be encouraged. I read that if mankind doesn't stop eating meat, there'll be mass starvation by 2050. With respect, I'm nearly 80, so this won't be my problem, but I do hope they sort it out. And I'm like,
I love that. Yeah, that's really cute. Maybe I need to read that as well. Basically, I just need to. You've inspired me to read all the crime.
I'm so glad. I feel like this is a false representation of my reading taste based on the conversations we've had, because I don't actually read that much crime. Like there are people who read a lot more than me, but I think at this time of year in particular, I do gravitate towards it a bit more.
Definitely. Yeah, it's like it's a good time of year to read crime, I think. As things are getting like colder and cozier, it's definitely a good shout. If you're in the chat, let us know how you found that reading sprint. And I think we're actually going to be wrapping up as it's 5 o'clock, and I'm sure you guys have other things to kind of get to today. But it's been so lovely. Thank you, Ciara, for joining me, and thank you to everyone for watching.
Well, thank you for having me. It has been so much fun to just talk about autumn and do some reading. Love it.
It's been so lovely. Yeah, I feel like we could have talked just forever, like about all the things. So we'll definitely have to do this again. But thank you so much for joining me, and everyone, thank you for watching this, and hopefully see you all very soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.